Parables of Grace Day. Luke 15, Grace to the Lost Sons. The Prodigal Father. This famous parable is commonly known as the parable of the prodigal son, but perhaps a better name would be the parable of the prodigal father and the two lost sons. While prodigal can be defined as wayward or foolish, it can also mean recklessly extravagant. Certainly in this parable, the father is prodigal in terms of the lavish grace he pours out upon both undeserving sons. Both sons are lost. The younger son took his share of the inheritance, left home, and led a reckless and wasteful life. But the older son was also lost without leaving home. Outwardly, he was doing all the right things, but inwardly, he was resentful toward his father and lacked compassion for his brother. Both had strayed from a loving relationship with their father. Let's look at each son in turn. First, when the younger son loses his inheritance in a faraway Gentile land, he knows that he has burned all his bridges, not only with his family but also with the entire village. The community would have publicly shamed him if he were to return, subjecting him to a ceremony called kazaza, which literally means the cutting off. They would have broken a large pot in front of him and proclaimed that he was cut off from his people. He would have no rights to claim and no one would take him in. Culturally, an Israelite father would have been expected to discipline or even reject a son who lost the family inheritance among the Gentiles. But in Luke 15:20, we find that while the younger son was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. According to theologian Kenneth Bailey, the father's dramatic actions shielded the son from the animosity of the village and repaired his relationship with them. Perhaps the father watched for his son and ran to get there before the other villagers. Running was considered undignified for older men to do. Thus, the father shamed himself so that the son would not be shamed. In this act of love, we see the cross of Jesus Christ, who shamed himself so that we would not be shamed. The father proceeds to lavish the younger son with gifts, including throwing him a huge party. But the older son became angry and refused to attend. Culturally, the older brother's refusal to come to the party would have been a public insult to the father. But instead of scolding him, the father also graciously goes outside to the older son. In contrast to the older son, who does not even address his dad with a title, the father calls him "my son," Luke 15:31. He then proceeds to assure him of their perpetual bond and tells him everything he has is his as well. Then the father says it's time to celebrate for this brother of yours who was dead and is alive again. The parable doesn't record how the older brother responds, perhaps to allow the Pharisees to consider how they will respond to the tax collectors and sinners who are now following Jesus. This parable is not merely about relations with God. It also sets the pattern for dealing with human relations and estrangement. We cannot claim to be returning to the Father without displaying the same kind of forgiveness and willingness to embrace others, which the Father displays to us. Prayer. Inhale slowly and pray, "Thank you, God my Father." Then exhale slowly and pray, "For lavishing love upon me and my brothers and sisters." Repeat this breath prayer several times, allowing it to become a meditation that you can return to.